Thank you, mate. Now coming in, we've got Joe Joyce's manager, Adam Morley, here playing bodyguard. I don't think he's stopping Joe Parker anytime soon. Adam Morley, how are we doing? You all good?
Good to see you, mate.
Very good to see you as well. My co-star, of course, in our Oscar-winning.
I hear it's up for an Oscar, mate. I hear it's up for an Oscar.
Yeah,
your performance particularly.
Us two, definitely the highlight. How have you found this build-up so far? It's nice seeing two guys that like each other, but are also the absolute top of the division.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, outside of AJ, Fury, Usyk. Well, Fury, Usyk, definitely. It's the biggest fight out there in the heavyweight division at the moment, and I think. Look, it's always the case with a pay-per-view fight. You want some needle. You want people to have a reason to buy the fight. You want there to be animosity. But those two guys have genuine respect for each other. So you don't want it to be fake either. So you just got to let the promotion develop as it develops and hope people latch onto the fact it's going to be a tremendous heavyweight fight on Saturday night.
I think it doesn't need the animosity in the fact that the rewards are so high and the consequences are so high.
Yeah.
I think it's a damaging defeat for either guy, but
absolutely.
Also so much credit to them for taking it and taking high risk fights. So the more you get, the better the division's going to be, the better the sport's going to be.
Absolutely, and you also got David Higgins just like flying in from New Zealand, accusing all the judges of corruption within 20 seconds of setting foot in the UK. So that'll be fun tomorrow. That'll bring that. Like, David Higgins brings it.
Absolute box office Higgins. He's worth the fee alone.
Yeah.
How motivated you found Joe has been for this one? It's like we mentioned. It's high stakes. It is a step up for Joe Joyce. It's very much the rarefied air now. We're getting there of the heavyweight division. It's the one that pushes you into the top, doesn't it?
It's his 15th fight. I don't think there's a British heavyweight with a 14-fight resume like his. He's beaten ex-world champions, beaten Daniel Dubois. He's never fought anyone with a losing record. You know, I think he's a highly disrespected Joe Joyce, actually. Olympic silver stroke gold medalist, and still most people think he's slow and lumbering. So I think for Joe, that motivation was really there for the Dubois fight, to show people I'm not getting flattened in 2 rounds, which is what everyone was saying. He put in an excellent performance, but still he then goes on to his next fight, and the same kind of slander turns up. He's got a chance to put that right on Saturday. He's hugely motivated. He stops Joseph Parker. He has to be considered an elite heavyweight.
Someone as chilled out as Joe, it's tough to imagine him, paying too much attention to the haters. But does he get motivated by things like that? You mentioned that people say he's slow and lumbering, and he's always kind of never put in the same categories you think that maybe he should be. Dubois, he probably should have been favourite, realistically. I mean, it's easy to say with hindsight, but he should have probably been favourite.
But he was 3-1. He was 3-1 odds against.
Does that bother him?
I think you wouldn't get him saying it does, and he's, as people know, he is what you get what you see with Joe. He is incredibly laid back. I think, does it bother him slightly? Perhaps slightly. I mean, I think everyone reads the comments, don't they? Even if they say they don't read the comments, I think everyone reads the comments. So maybe very slightly, but certain comments may irk him. I think some comments Andy Lee made, I think Salas found them amusing, but I think to say someone's got zero boxing ability, maybe that irks him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly has a lot more than that, and he's proved it again and again. Also, can we just talk about why we're here? Salas's platform trainers. I've seen them a couple of times before in Vegas, but they really are something else. He's brought a nice all-black pair to Manchester here.
Yeah, when the coach was with David Hay, he had some multicoloured ones that he used with David, but Joe's just that bit taller, so he had to invest in some new platforms, and he's still actually shorter than Joe.
Yeah. They are pretty impressive though, aren't they? You should get a pair.
Yeah, I wish I had them. But Joe Joyce is he needs them. I mean, all jokes apart, to do proper pads with Joe, Salas has got to have those.
That Vegas training camp for Joe, it's something he's done for a little while now, and do you get the sense it's a really beneficial place for it to be? We see Joseph Parker obviously going all the way up to Morecambe, a long way from home. Joe Joyce, Vegas, a long way from home. Do you think that's a really good place for him in terms of, I guess, almost decompressing and getting away from it, but also concentrating?
I think there are real pros and cons for foreign training camps. I think at the very top level, I think it's excellent for Joe to lock himself away, take himself away from any distractions at home. So I think of someone of Joe Joyce's level, I'm fully behind it. I think perhaps when you're getting up to that level, sometimes for a boxer they lose their home comforts, and it can be disconcerting to them. But at the, as you called it, the rarefied air, at the elite level, it's what he should be doing. It's what any boxer, I think, should be doing, locking themselves away for 8 weeks and focusing entirely on the fight. And yeah, it's been really good. But Joe goes to Vegas for Salas. If Salas lived in Croydon, he'd be having his training camp at home. So it's a byproduct, but I think it's a healthy byproduct.
Also great sparring over there. I mean, we just saw a clip actually of Joyce sparring with Carlos Takam.
Yeah, brilliant sparring in Vegas.
Yeah.
Carlos Takam, Johnny Rice. We also brought Johnny Fisher over. You've got great heavyweights walking around. Deontay Wilder was there. He didn't spar Wilder, but you've got loads and loads of top heavyweights in Las Vegas. So, you know, we have taken this fight incredibly seriously. This is our world title shot. I mean, technically the interim is a world title, but this is the top. We are not looking beyond this fight. So we have had the best sparring we possibly could. I don't think Joseph Parker's done that.
What do you think, Johnny Fisher? We've seen him a few times and spoke to him a few times, and he seems to absolutely love/hate getting in there with Joe. He says he learns so much every time he's in there as a fighter. Are you seeing those two as like an almost dream combination to have in sparring, because they push each other in different ways?
Yeah, I mean, I think Johnny is... We wouldn't just have Johnny in camp. I think Johnny's a tremendous level for where he is, but he didn't really have the amateur experience. He learned so much out in Vegas, so much with Joe. We use Johnny, or Joe uses Johnny for speed. Like, Johnny Fisher's as quick as they get. So that's where Joe Joyce is really using him. They're amazing for each other, but it's really that speed. We had Solomon Dakers, another one of our SJAM guys in, and we had him for Joe's boxing ability. You know, to see what Joe can do against someone who can box as well as Sol. So we've tried to cover all angles in there: speed, boxing ability, and then more juggernaut behaviour.
You mentioned that you're not looking beyond this fight. This is your top thing.
Yeah.
But you know, particularly as a manager, you have to see that there's almost a time scale. And Joyce has always been in a rush. He's always had time stacked a little bit against him due to how long his amateur career was. Where would the next path be? We've spoken about the huge consequences of a loss and the rewards of a win. But where is the path? Where does it go?
Well, a loss means another Parker fight, as David Higgins was just talking about. But the win makes him WBO interim champ. That means when the mandatory comes up,
you have to wait for all that to filter out.
Yeah,
though,
but it's not
never
due.
easy.
But it's not due until March the 25th. 18 months from September 25th. And by that time, I think we'll have had undisputed. So I think if Tyson Fury wins the undisputed, obviously big call, but I think if Tyson Fury wins that, I think Tyson's the sort of guy that'll probably vacate the belts. And if that happens, Joe gets elevated to champ. I think if undisputed doesn't happen, I think the WBO will call that in March, and he will face Usyk. So I see a world title fight happening within 6 months of the start of the year.
And do you get the sense there's a few guys in the division waiting to take that step up, waiting to join that crowd?
I've got to look at it. I mean, look at the different governing bodies. IBF, you've got Filip Ergovic. WBA, you've got Daniel Dubois, the regular champion. WBC, they're having a little tournament. So they can't, you know, the undisputed champ can't take on all his mandatories. And if someone vacates, when you're the interim, you become the full champ.
Yeah. I believe Joe's loitering behind us somewhere. He's just helping Salas get out of his enormous platform shoes, maybe. There we go, he's just getting the wraps off.